So this is a getting to know the MENA region conversation that was organized and put together and facilitated and et cetera, by the still facilitating Sarah Shukri. Yeah, come on, she worked her butt out. Okay? And she had a lot of support from the Canada Council for the Arts. So big thank you to them. And I would like to underline the presence of the Honorable Antoine Aid, the General Consul of Lebanon. Whoa, that's you? Wow, well, thank you very much for coming. It's a pleasure to have you here. So I'm going to hand it over to Sarah to start this conversation, and then there's going to be a reception after.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming to check out this panel. It really means a lot. I guess we had an idea to put this together. Wait, before we start, major shout out to M for Montreal, Moonzan Montreal for being such amazing facilitators for this. Eli, Ashley, Deb, you've all been amazing. Thank you so much. So we wanted to put this together actually because I've been working in the music industry for 10 years. I had done like loads of international partnerships in Europe and North America. And then I went to Lebanon for the first time in my life in October 2017, and it just completely shattered anything that I thought of what the Middle East might be. Since that time, I have had the great opportunity to lead many projects and partake in other projects that took place in, obviously in Lebanon, also in Bahrain, in the Emirates, in Egypt, and in Morocco. One thing that, it was challenging in many different ways. All amazing experiences, but one thing I guess that I wanted to bring to light is that every time you change territories, you kind of change ways of working, as these are all like distinct countries with their own ways of doing things, so we thought it would be a really awesome idea to bring you the amazing people of the Middle East and North Africa that are doing super awesome things, so that they can tell you about like the best ways to enter their markets and maybe some of the challenges that you'll be seeing when trying to initiate things there. So from the incredibly eclectic Gnawi Music Festival in Essaouira, Morocco, Mr. Hisham El-Kefaj, the man with the plan and the answer to everything, Edwin Harb from Believe Distribution in Beirut, Bassem Abu Arab of Exceptional Experience from Cairo, Egypt, the one and only Amani Saman of the incredibly fantastic Beirut and Beyond International Music Festival showcasing event, and award-winning Rima Rashid from Dubai. And on the screen we have the boss of Amman, Madame Mais Sahli, who I am not sure she can hear us, as we did not get very much time for sound check. So I know that I have sound coming out of my computer.
We let her see you.
I mean, Mais, can you talk?
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, Mais. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you today.
Okay, so since we don't have a lot of time today, we are going to have everyone just present a very brief overview of their markets that are incredibly rich, incredibly complex. We're not going to get into everything in 45 minutes, but just to give you an idea of how it is, we're going to get started with Mais, who's joining us from Amman. Take it away, girl.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for this opportunity. I am so excited about telling you about Jordan and Amman. As I know not many of you know much about it, Jordan is located in a very interesting place. So we're surrounded by conflict everywhere. But what's beautiful about this space is how to take all of this and come up with beautiful content and to be hosts of neighboring nations that always needed help, and to learn from them and to exchange music with them. So what I do, my name is Mace. I am the owner of the Corners Pub. It's a live music venue. It's the first of its kind in Amman. What we do is we host bookings for international bookings and regional bands and, of course, local bands from all around. Like we have 5 to 7 gigs a month. I also am one of the organizers of What the Hills Music Festival, which is a biannual festival where we also host different bands from different places in the world. And also we just established something amazing that I'd like to share with you, which is called the Jordanian Female Artists Collective. A group of us, the Jordanian artists, came together and we're working together and creating new content, working out to support each other in the music scene and basically hopefully creating an album and a concert and a tour soon. What I'd love to tell you about Jordan is a baby, so the music scene is quite new and it's growing really fast. I have personally been in the scene for 17 years and things have changed so much since we started. Like we used to have, back in 2003, something like that, maybe 1 or 2 bands maximum to book locally. And now there's so many different bands, from cover bands, bands that do original content, bands that sing in English and Arabic. And the scene has grown so much. We have so many festivals happening every now and then. We have so much. The night scene is growing and we have so many new clubs opening, which opens the space for lots of bookings. The market locally, we have lots of DJs and bands, but we're always looking around to find new bookings, especially in the region and also internationally. The scene basically has been growing and we have new people working in the market. Of course, the country has been independent only since like 1946, 1949. So you can imagine that all the development came maybe a little bit late and the music scene wasn't as developed as neighboring countries. But I think we caught up really fast and the efforts that are coming, like all the collectives that are happening and all the venues that are opening, it's super exciting. As you know, Jordan is super interesting when it comes to nature and its venues and its touristic locations. So you can imagine all the beautiful festivals that we can actually create around the Dead Sea, around Pet.
She was saying Petra.
Yeah. To spell it?
We can spell it afterwards.
Okay.
So I'm going to just mute her. We're going to pass on to maybe Hisham's presentation now. Hisham is, I'll let you introduce yourself maybe a bit more in depth.
Hi, so my name is Hisham El-Kabash from Morocco. I mainly work for the Gnawa Festival in Morocco. I'm also involved in the Boulevard Festival in Casablanca and also a manager for a few Moroccan artists such as Khalid El-Kasri, Medina Souli and Indi Zahra. So basically I'm going to talk to you about, we're going to go through quickly over 2 cases of festival in Morocco. The first one is the Gnawa Festival. So basically, a few facts, it's created by 3 women. It runs about 3-4 days. It's mainly free, so the 2 big stages are free, totally free, and we have a few acoustic, intimate venues for the festival, which you have to pay a very small fee to get in. It's mainly run on private sponsors funding, very, very little involvement by the government or the state or Ministry of Culture. Essaouira, the context of the town is like an old Portuguese fortification by the Atlantic Sea, around 70,000 people during the year, but it goes up to 300,000 people during the festival. So there's a drastic impact on the economy. Like it's written here, is the cradle of Gnawa culture. The Gnawa culture, just to give you a very, very quick information about it, it's part of, it's like the African roots, if you want, of Morocco in some ways. And it's part of the unfortunate history of slave trade also, because it's a music that was brought from the slaves from Mali, Benin, all these kind of countries, Senegal. But it was developed in Morocco, so it's a pride in some ways to have these African roots for Essaouira. Basically, it's a town that is very multicultural, I would say, with a lot of musicians, artists, people coming from everywhere. We have this tradition of bringing a lot of jazz musicians and African musicians such as Salif Keita, Snarky Puppy, Richard Bona, Oumou Sangare, Pat Metheny. Well, you have a list of a few names here. In terms of economics, 1 dirham brings 17 dirhams for the region. I don't know if you know how much a dirham is, but it's quite significant for the region. We'll move to the other festival, which is much more urban. It's in Casablanca, which is called the Boulevard. Bassam is also representing with his shirt.
That's not a festival.
So yeah, it's mainly about the underground alternative musics in Morocco, totally free. A lot of development, training, musical residencies, band competitions, and as you can see, it can bring from 10,000 to 30,000 people per night, and it's totally free once again. Like I said, the only festival for underground and alternative music in Morocco. Very instrumental, essential for freedom of speech. We have hard rock, hip hop, a lot of controversies can be addressed during the festival, so that helps a lot. And it's also part of, it's like a big family gathering, honestly. And you can say we have a wonderful hard rock audience also. So other major events, you have the Oasis Festival in Marrakesh, which is always sold out. It's an electronica music festival, bring big names like Carl Cox and whatever. Casablanca in Casablanca, the name says it all, Sacred Music Festival, same thing again, it's about sacred music worldwide. Tanjaz, I think that it says, the name says it all also. You have Mawazin, which is like probably one of the biggest extensible budget in Morocco. You can get to see Bruno Mars, Justin Timberlake for free. So just to give you an example. And last but not least, you have Visa for Music, which is happening at the same time right now in Morocco, and which is a big gathering of professionals of music around the region for Africa and MENA. Briefly, the musical market influences in Morocco. So you have two main channels, the French, US, UK music, through radios, TV channels and satellites. So the Moroccan youth can hear anything from Booba in the French or Orelsan to Drake, just to name the Canadian rapper. And you have also the Arabic influence through the Lebanese, Egyptian channels. And I think it's characteristic to big towns, and that's it really. Hip hop in Morocco is huge. For example, Shayfin, which is a big band in Morocco, is over 15 million views on YouTube, so hip hop again is very huge. The traditional Shabi is really huge also, with a big part of the population, and we have the progressive, which is the fusion kind of traditional sounds with modern influences, which is very trendy in Morocco. And the electronica clubs, like I said, the Oasis Festival, Moga Festival. So a few challenges to work in Morocco. Very few indoor venues, most are small, medium capacity. Most of them are in a bad state, to be honest, so you will have to put a lot of money towards equipment and staff and everything. The festival's period, because of the lack of venues, is concentrated when there is no rain and sun, so from April to July and September, October. Foreign payments can be problematic and require time, so we have this regulation with the state that they have to basically study and control and accept every payment done outside, so sometimes it can take quite a lot of time. Qualified local staff to be booked months in advance because we have so many events there and no training in Morocco, so there's a few people who are really qualified and efficient. So if you are to have a project in Morocco, I advise you book them well in advance. The easy but not easy thing is that basically it's kind of easy to do any event in Morocco, but once again all the other aspects of communication, local staff, security, funding also are some concerns and are not to be dealt with, how can I say, easily or quickly. And finally, like I said, the Moroccan audience is spoiled because I don't think there's a lot of countries where you get to see Whitney Houston or whatever for free. So, yeah, well, it happened a few years ago before she died, but basically, yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay. So my discussion is gonna be a bit different from my colleagues. I'm gonna be talking about the streaming and distribution services we have in the region. It's gonna be more region specific than country specific. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself very shortly. My name is Edwin Harib. I'm from Beirut and I work as a label manager for Believe Distribution Services. So I'm gonna start off by talking a bit about the history of the streaming and distribution industry in the region in MENA without making it a history class. So just like any other region and any other emerging market, SoundCloud and YouTube were the biggest two streaming platforms in the region. They still are. Anghami just came in about 5-6 years ago. Anghami is the streaming platform that is specific to the region that started basically educating the listenership and the audience and the clients in the region about how they can listen to music without illegally downloading or streaming for free on the different other platforms. A couple of years back, or even less, we got the biggest two players come in the region, which are Spotify and Deezer. And these two players, I would say, came in came in kind of like on the wrong foot, if I can say that. It's just because they took the region, and this is what the challenge is mostly in the region, is that the region is being seen as this generalized market, and Anghami's strategy was very region specific. So they had the Levant as a region, and then they had the Gulf as a region, they had the Maghreb and North Africa as another region. Okay. So these were the challenges, and these were also the advantages of all the streaming platforms. So today, in this day and age, I'm gonna talk a bit about the listenership again and the different markets of listeners in the region. So the biggest market would obviously be Arabic pop. And then after that would come all the other different markets. We have a huge market of French listenership and French music, whether it comes from Jacques Brel, or even now the more recent stuff, which is like French trap, French hip hop, or even French electro-pop. So, and we have all the different alternative music, of course, coming out from the region, and the international pop that everyone listens to. So this gave the region an importance to all the different markets and different streaming platforms like Spotify and Deezer. Moving on, I'm going to talk a bit about the distribution channels and the challenges of distributing music in the region. So we've got different channels like any other part of the world. We've got independent distributing platforms like that are accessible to all the alternative bands, alternative artists like TuneCore, or CD Baby, or other distributors. We've got people like us, like Believe, who are trying to push any artist, whether independent, to the more established artists. And we've got the major labels that have been around for most of the since like 20 to maybe 15 years, and more major labels are now becoming present in the region, like Warner or Sony. Absolutely. Okay, so and of course there's always physical distribution, which has never been present in the Middle East for the simple reason of illegal piracy. So like even back in the day when physical was the most accessible, it's always been illegal pirated CDs being sold on the streets. But this has definitely changed and has definitely become more like the education and the awareness of the streaming platforms is helping make this less of an issue. So I guess that's it from my part. Okay. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Bassem Abuarab. I'll just introduce myself quickly. I am an artist booker and programmer for a promoter called Nasal. We're basically, you can say, one of the biggest entities in Egypt that are promoting concerts and festivals. Before that, I was an agent for 7 years, working mainly for the Arab Indian music and world music in the whole Arab region. So I'll just give you a quick introduction about the market in Egypt, how is it going. It is a market with a lot of potential. However, it lacks a lot of infrastructure. So you get lost in terms of who's doing what and where and how the dynamic of the work if things are going. So it just takes a little bit of time until you get to make a connection with the professionals out there to understand the cultural difference of how do you operate the work in general. The market itself, I can just divide it into two main sectors. First, you find the mainstream and pop music that is usually operated by promoters and the governmental sector, such as like the Cairo Opera House and the Ministry of Culture. And the second sector is the alternative or indie scene. And basically, this is a kind of the sector that I'm more involved into. Maybe I just give you a little bit tips about why is it cool to come and play in Egypt or to book your band in Egypt. Basically, we have the sun all the year, and you could enjoy playing beaches any time of the year, which is so cool. And that might sound a little bit cliche, but if you come, you will spend like good time doing the cool things and seeing the pyramids and stuff. Maybe it sounds cliche, but I assure you that you will have fun with this. But seriously, if you're a musician and coming, you might have a little bit low expectations in terms of maybe the budgets and stuff like this. But seriously, you will get through an interesting experience that I can promise with. One more thing actually is cool in Egypt. Maybe it's unlike Morocco that the Egyptian audience is so easy to please. They're not spoiled at all. They can easily So it's a leverage that we have always whenever we promote any concerts or book any event or something like this. And maybe I'll just add one more thing about the challenge that you might face if you're a booker or agent. You just need to take care of some details, like some part of the year, like Ramadan as example, it's a month for the Arabian months. Usually they don't sell alcohol, so you find a lot of venues that are selling alcohol, it's shutting down. However, at the same period, you can find a lot of festivals, so you just need to know the right act to book in this thing. Maybe, of course, we can chat more after this. I can give anyone if anyone interested to give like more tips about this. Also, when it comes to offering a band, maybe you can just have a little bit low expectations about the budgets and thing, because we have the inflation thing which devalues the Egyptian pounds. So maybe if you're proposing something like $300 or $500 for a DJ, that might be good for you, but that's a lot of money in Egypt. So you can just need to understand more how prices are going, so you can get a better deal with a less hassle. Maybe also I would give a hint about the booking timings. You have to, we don't book way ahead. You can just like book a whole festival maybe in just 6 or 8 weeks, which is a very short time. Unlike Europe and in the Western markets, you have to book maybe 6 months at least ahead. Things are not like this, so which makes it a little bit tricky. So you have to finalize a whole tour within maybe before it happens with like 1 month or 2 months as maximum. So you have to be very careful of who to approach and when to approach, and how will you try to do everything so quickly before you go through it. I think this was my input toward the market, and if anyone would like to have a talk after the panel, feel free, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to be here and expose more the Arab world to you. I'm the director of a festival in Lebanon, Beirut and Beyond International Music Festival, and we've started our first edition in 2013. The festival is a showcase festival, and it was conceived as an answer to the bustling productions happening at the moment in the whole Arab world. At the time in 2011 and 12, when everything was shaking in the Arab world, Beirut was a hub for a lot of artists from Tunis, from Egypt, from Syria, and let's see.
كانت التجربة بالنسبة لي مثيرة جدا، لكن أول مرة أبرمج مهرجان، وفي السياق بيرت اند بيوند كان مهم علشان ده مهرجان عندي علاقة بيه بقالي فترة، لعبت فيه كذا مرة.
It was incredible. كان خيالي يعني، والعالم كانوا بجننوا، أعطوني كتير حب. It was like a dream.
كتير مبسوطة إنه أنا ببيروت أند بيوند. حسيت إنه بيفتح أبواب كتير.
العالم اللي عم بدقوا بالفستيفال عم بيعبروا بموسيقتهم عن قصص that I think are very central to our culture.
It's a showcase festival, and it was made to answer the needs of the independent scene at the time in the whole Arab world. So for 4 days, what we do is we program independent artists from the whole Arab world, and we invite international professionals to come and discover the indie scene from our region. During the 4 days, we have concerts, we have a professional program, and talks, workshops, and all of that. So the main purpose, the objectives of the festivals, of our festival, are 4. The first one is exposing the emerging music scene. So what we do is we program any genre that is coming out from the Arab world or the diaspora. So over 6 editions, we have welcomed 54 different artists. And as I said, we invite international professionals. So we've had, through the 6 editions, more than 250 international, regional professionals who came to discover the scene and eventually create opportunities for those artists. What we want to do as well is to develop the infrastructure. As my colleagues were saying, we lack a lot of support and infrastructure for independent scene in our region. So what we try to do through the workshops, the presence of international professionals, is to give whatever we can to the artists to be able to develop themselves in a good way, to be ready to be exported. This is another one of our objectives, is to help and support exporting the musicians we program during the festival. So what we do is international collaborations, so far with European institutions like Oslo World, Institut du Monde Arabe, Artlink, and we produce concerts for those artists in those cities. So far we've visited 10 to 15 cities where musicians from Beirut and beyond have performed there. And finally, what we're trying to do is to produce new music. So far in 6 years, we had 3 new productions, collaborations with the Sweden and Lebanese artists that came up with a band called the Sonic Groove Society, another collaboration between Hamid Sinno from Mashroua Leila and the Lebanese DJ and producer Lilian Shlela, and recently a new production for a local artist, a Lebanese local artist who's hopefully touring next year in Europe. So those are the 4 things that we try to do, and mainly what we are trying to achieve is to export the musicians from Lebanon and from the region towards the world. So we try to make them ready to be exported as whatever support we can give them. We try also to facilitate whatever logistic challenges they might have to be produced outside the Arab world, which is logistics from visa or flights that can be very expensive to fly from our region towards the world, and especially in North America. But also what we try to do is to reassure in some ways the promoters we work with that the risk they are taking in programming artists from our region is not so big. So one, it's a way to introduce their audiences to what is really happening in the Arab world in terms of culture and music. And the second thing is that the Lebanese diaspora or the Arab diaspora is existent anywhere. So the Arab diaspora in Europe is a huge part of the community, and in this region of North America, the Lebanese diaspora does exist. So I feel that those people are eager to meet whatever is happening in our region and to discover what really happens beyond the borders that we all have. So this is mainly the purpose of Beirut and Beyond at this point. I will finish on one last note that normally Beirut and Beyond happens in December, but this edition is being postponed to because of everything what is happening in Beirut at the moment, the revolution. But it's something that we are hopeful will make a positive change, or we come out of this safely and program again in February. That's it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rima. I'm Lebanese originally, and I was born in Dubai, live in Dubai now. And basically in Dubai, I've been running since 2013, probably the longest running independent events agency. I'm a buyer for brands to do their events, and I'm a booker for my own parties, as well as I produce and curate everything myself.
And she's won many awards, as you can see.
This is some of the time out. I know that you guys have time out here, so but there's around 12 more from there. Basically, we I don't know if anyone's been to Dubai, so the market is extremely saturated there. It's a very wealthy country. People like to be very extravagant. So I've come in and tried to create a new scene for people where it's a bit more independent. A bit more discovering different genres, and I've probably made around 400 bookings in the last 6 years and brought people from all around the world to Dubai. It's very difficult logistics. We have a Dubai tourism tax, so we have to, we can't be spontaneous. We have to plan in advance. We have to get licenses for everyone. And we don't have venues that are easy to as a platform. So I go around to restaurants and bars and basically try to empty out the space and use that space as the venue for our events. It's quite complicated to actually find a place to do these things. We focus more on outdoors just because the weather's so great and there's a smoking problem in Dubai, so we prefer to be outdoors. And it, for the live music especially, it can affect some of the performers. So we do that a lot. I promote a lot of the regional artists. I work a lot with Lebanon, Jordan, Palestine. I brought a lot of the artists from Palestine for the first time to Dubai. And with that, I mix it with international artists just to have that diversity. What else? Basically, one thing I noticed being here yesterday, we went to the drinks opening. We don't have any funding in our region, especially not in Dubai. So it's all self-funded. I pay for everything myself through just making revenue from other areas and then putting it into events. So I'm basically like creating a music scene in Dubai from our own funding and trying to promote as much as possible with different types of music. And I do that, if we do want to get funding, we have to associate ourselves with some brands, so like Jameson, Nissan, Tiger, Reebok. When we associate with a brand, we then get funding, and it's all kind of more like a sponsorship, a brand event. Other than that, what else? Yeah, this is just an example of a venue. We just look around and we take that and then just empty it out and make an event. So that's about it. Marketing-wise in Dubai, we don't have a platform to kind of reach people. I just checked in with a ticketing company before coming here. We have probably a population of 60,000 people only interested in events in Dubai. So it's extremely challenging to actually get people to know about the artist, the event itself, and to get people to come. We've been very successful in doing that. We can have events that range from 200 people to 1,000, even up to 2,000, 3,000. Mostly it works from social media and word of mouth, and that's about it.
We're almost out of time, but I had also asked Rima to maybe give us a very, very quick word on Saudi Arabia, as they have just opened up their market, and you're doing a lot there that you're not allowed to talk about, but so what can you tell us?
So I'm on a 3-month break now in Dubai because I'm based in Riyadh. I'm a consultant there for the government, and we're opening massive platforms for music. In a very large scale. We're actually building an entertainment city as we speak from sand up. So, that's going to be opening in the next month. I've signed an NDA, so we're not really allowed to give details about it. But the market is emerging very fast and very quickly, and you'll all hear about it very soon. So it'll be a platform with thousands of artists needing to be filling out the spaces and the events on a weekly basis. So I'll be looking around the world and trying to really use my creativity in Riyadh more than I can in Dubai. Like I said, Dubai is a little bit limited with the market, and Riyadh is really now sponsoring from the government side, from the cultural side. So this is going to be a new era for me to really just, really push the music industry in the GCC. So looking forward to that.
Thanks, guys. So I hope everyone found that interesting. We're actually completely out of time, but I will take, with Eli's distracted permission, one question, first person that raises their hand. Madame.
I was just at a similar panel in Shanghai, actually, and one of the things that came out of that panel was that it's very difficult sometimes to have artists from other countries in the region because of various restrictions. And I'm just wondering to what extent you see that as an impediment to developing a regional market.
Of course.
And then some sort of secondary question is about artists from the region who are in the diaspora, who are living outside of the region, and how they can be integrated into the region as well.
Answering the second question, we try to involve both of the artists based in the region and outside. We've had many Arabic artists who are based in France or even in New York, like Nardistan, or other musicians who are have been living all their lives outside the Arab world. And it's a way also to connect them to their origins and to play for the audience they know also. Answering your first question, I think that we have been collaborating. I mean, we know each other from before, and we are trying to make Beirut and Beyond, as Visa for Music or other platforms, regional as much as possible. Of course, there are some challenges, but so far in Beirut and Beyond, we have never had an issue bringing an artist to Beirut, except if they are Palestinian living in occupied Palestine, because this is a very complicated political situation more than other things. But we have tried to put our budgets, our efforts to bring people from everywhere. I mean, a flight ticket between Casablanca and Beirut is more expensive than Beirut and Paris, but still we are overcoming those things through trying to manage the budget in a good way. And I think Beirut and Beyond is the window for the Arab world to the international scene, including Egypt, Casablanca, Morocco, and everything. We have regional professionals as much as we have international ones.
So thanks so much, everyone. We're around all week. Half of these delegates are at Munzat, half of them are at M, so everybody gets to share them and talk to them. Mais has given me permission to share her contact information with everyone, so if anyone wants to get in touch with her and learn more about Jordan and Amman, she's a great hookup. She makes everything happen, so it'll make her happy to be in touch with you. All right, so thanks and have a great afternoon.